so I think at this point we've actually got everything done. In the chief configurator, can you share your screen? I wasn't sure if we actually got this implemented. It looked like we had not. So I just wanted to make sure you got it in there.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So in the chief configurator, just double check, make sure you got that module exports. The chief configuration. Sorry, chief configuration.
Okay.
Yep, you do. You have it. Okay, good. I did not, so I just wanted to make sure. Okay, so the next piece we need to add is, we got the configurator, we got the file operations. We need, let's start with something small. Let's do the timers. So new file, timers.js.
Where's that at?
Under Xutrix.
Okay.
I'm going to put 2 functions in here for now, but we're not. I'm not completely implementing the second one. So header is at file timers.js, at module timers, at description contain.
The timers.js or timer.js?
Timers.
So I named my file wrong.
Correct. Yeah, it needs to be timers. I mean, I saw an argument for both. I do it with timers just because that's what I've done historically.
Okay.
I see an argument for either one. All right. Contains all of the functions needed for generating timestamps, reformatting timestamps, and tracking time durations. That requires. There's a couple here. Path is one of them. We'll just pull that from over here. Actually, all of this. I'll get the copyright, the date, the author, the path. Just drop all that right there. We do have another one other than path. It's called a dependency. At requires curly brace https://www.npmjs.com/package moment pipe moment. Okay, that'll be our dependency. I'll keep going here. This will say let, well, actually, it's exactly the same as this. Path, configurator, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let path. And the only other thing we need here is another let moment equals require moment.
Moment, that's a time framework, right? Moment.js?
Yes.
Yeah, I use that. I've used that for testing, yeah.
Right on.
I like it, it's neat.
Yeah, it's got a lot of cool. The most important function here is function get now moment formatting. Okay, then a header. Oops, all of this stuff needs to come over by one line. That's Shift Tab. Did I get that right? What happened? No, Shift Tab. There we go. Okay, and header should look like this. Function get now moment. Description returns a timestamp string formatted according to the input formatting string. Okay, and this string, and it's going to say The description for the formatting is the formatting string that tells moment in what format to return the value for the day, month, year, hour, minute, second, and millisecond. Okay. The return type is a string. And I see another typo here. Okay. A timestamp string that has been formatted according to the input format. And author, date, 1/13, almost Friday the 13th. Okay, and in the, let's see here, let me get a good function that has a good boilerplate. Okay, this will work. Some boilerplate code. Alrighty. Okay, so yeah, this get now moment, that's got to come down. Formatting, that comes down. It's a string, so that's good. We only have one parameter, so this can go out. Alright, and I'm going to say this should be return data. And again, we don't need the JSON because we're passing back a string. Return data. And we're going to return the return data. Alright, so then we're going to say let return data equal an empty string. And return data equals moment dot format, and then we're going to pass the formatting along, and that's it. It's pretty simple, 2 lines of code, very simple function. Okay, we got one more function we're going to do, but it's not really going to have an implementation yet. It's just a boilerplate function. Compute delta time, start end time. Okay. Compute delta time. Description computes the time difference between 2 different date time stamps in milliseconds. So it takes a string and the description for start time is the start of the time period that should be computed. And this function is really, really useful for checking performance, because then you can see how long something took. End time is a string as well. End of the time period that should be computed. And it's going to return an integer, which is the difference between the beginning time and ending time in milliseconds. author, date, alright, and we can just copy paste this one above and drop it in here as boiler. Function name is compute delta time begin, and we have two inputs. So start time end time, and I'll leave the return data in there, but I'll just take out this moment business. And that's just completely boilerplate. So yeah, I'm just adding this module exports. The get now moment. Formatting can go there. And I guess I'll leave the other one off for now. Just implement this one export. We'll definitely need that outside of this. We're ready to do the last file that we need for the training one branch. This is the last one. And we don't really need this yet because we're not even ready to use it. So just putting it in here is like getting us our foot in the door for starting the next training. It's called,
is it gonna be too long?
it's actually not. No, it's got one function, and we're not even exporting it. So again, this is just getting us started. It's called loggers.js.
Loggers. Okay.
Yep, under Citrix. There you go. And the header at file loggers.js module loggers and description. This description is a little bit long. Contains all of the functions necessary for logging to the console, comma, and logging to a system specified log file. Additional logic is in place to allow the configuration file to define which, which modules, files, and functions should participate in logging operations. And you're going to see this is where it gets really cool. We'll start to see how the configuration system is going to drive the actual logging system. It gets really cool. Anyways, I guess we can copy paste over here. Copyright and that requires module configurator for sure. That requires module data. We need that. And I'll leave the path, but moment can come out. There is a precedent that we need the FS, the file system, but we can deal with that later because I don't think we're going to need it right now at this point. The date, update that to the 13th. Okay. This is where like systems start to integrate. Like the logging system has to work with the configuration system. So there's all these connections that have to happen. And we're still building up the infrastructure. So like there's all of this infrastructure that has to be built up, like the configurator. That was a big piece of that. We can't have configuration without a configurator. Okay, here we go. All right, so we say let configurator equal require Citrix configurator Okay, so we got to get that in there. Let d equal require structures data, and let path equal require path. And I think we need the other stuff. I'll just copy it out of timers. This base file name and namespace prefix. Get those guys in there. And I need to put them in here as well. Even though it is training one branch. Okay. Okay, there we go. Yeah, let me put this in here. Okay, so the first function we need is function, and it's the only function. Oops. Console log. And it's going to take two parameters, class, path, and a message. Okay. Now the header for that is a little bit involved. Collapse this. Okay. At function console log at description compares the class path to a series of configuration settings to determine if we should log to the console or not. Also, can provisionally log to a log file as well, since the console is technically a transient, console is technically a transient data output. Okay, class path is a string. There we go. Class path described as the message. Oh no, wait. The class path for the caller of this function, file.function or class.method. Okay. The message is, of course, a string. And the message for data contents that should be dumped to the output, whatever the output is. It's going to return void. And add the author. Yeah, okay. So I didn't start the re-recording. But yeah, we're not going to implement this function entirely. We're not going to implementing this function differently, especially the boilerplate code. So I think we could just, get this part started right here, and we'll call it quits. The reason why we can't just do console logs at the beginning, begin, end, the inputs, we can't do that. Especially in this function, because we're going to call this function so many times that if we did that, then the console log output, like in your terminal window, is going to turn into a snowstorm. And we can't have that. There's no way. It won't be sustainable. So we've got to be a little bit more intelligent how we implement this function. And there's tons of other stuff that we have to implement, which is why this is going to be in, like when we get around to implementing this fully, it's going to be in the training 3, maybe training 2, but probably training 3 or training 4 branch. So it's a ways out. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 functions to implement. And that's just the beginning, because then there's a whole other colorizer library that ties into this to colorize the messages. And even that's just still also the beginning. because there's stuff in file operations, and it's a well integrated system. So let's hold off on implementing. We can implement the last of this, what I have for this function, and then we'll just call it quits. And it's only like, we're not even doing all of it. So not even close.
Okay.
But we can wrap that up next time, and that'll be the end. And after that, we're just going to test out everything we've done so far, make sure it's working, and then that's the end of training 1. And then we'll move into training 2 once Hannah's all caught up.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay. All right, man. Have a good evening.
You too, man. Thank you.
Yep. No problem. Bye-bye.
Thank you.